Hello everyone and welcome to my first video here on YouTube. In this video I will be showing you how to program the FMS/UNS on FlyJSim's Q4XP aircraft. Within the video I'll be simulating a flight from Bundaberg to Brisbane in Queensland, Australia. Please do keep in mind throughout the video that I do not have any real world experience flying this aircraft, so the way that I program the FMS may not be the same to what happens in real life. Please do enjoy the video and I hope it's useful to you. Alrighty, so the first thing we're going to want to do once we've got the aircraft basically powered up, I haven't started any of the engines yet, as you can see down here, but I have just turned on the battery, started up the APU, and we're running the GPU for the power to the aircraft, and the APU is just on for the air conditioning to the cabin. So the first thing we're going to want to do is come down here to our UNS. I'm currently using the captain's side. I'm going to hit this on-off dim button, and that will let it power on. Essentially it runs all these checks, it checks the CPU, the RAM, the database, it runs through it all, it's super realistic, it's awesome. And it'll just go through all those. It does take a little bit of time, but you know, that's probably what it takes in the real world. So once it comes through all these, you'll see it'll go pass, and just the final one's finishing up, and you can see it's just got the copyright screen. Once it's ran through that, we get this position initialization screen. It tells us our GPS location, where it thinks we are, what the UTC time is, and what the date is. We have a nav database here. You can see it's valid 23rd of Feb 2022. That's when it expires. And we also have the option to master crossfill, which we'll learn about pretty soon. All we have to do on this page is click accept, and then it locks it in. As long as everything is green and white, then that's great. And the first thing that I like to do once I jump into the UNS and programming it for the aircraft is click on that flight plan page. First thing we're going to see is line number 1, and that shows where the aircraft thinks we're at in terms of the airport. So it's picked up that we're on the ground at Bundaberg in Queensland, Australia, which we sure are. And now what we're going to want to do is enter our waypoints and our airways for our route. So if I pull up my flight plan here that I've just used from SimBrief, I can see that my first waypoint is going to be the Bundaberg VOR, or it might be the NDB. It looks like it's the NDB. So we'll click accept on that one, and the next waypoint is the Victor 315 to Otleb. And we're going to have to try and enter an airway here. So obviously it won't let us enter in the airway itself. It says define the waypoint because it doesn't know what it is. So to enter an airway, we've got to make sure that we've selected the next line below the waypoint. So the first waypoint that is not selected has to be the waypoint that we're joining the airway. So we're joining the airway on the Bundaberg waypoint, and then we've got to select the next line. So make sure it's white and it's got the next number there. Click the list key. It sees it. We see that it brings up all these VORs. We don't want VORs though. We want airways. So we click air. Or you can see it says airways there, and we have to find which airway we want. We want the airway of Victor 315. Although you can see, well, if there was more airways, you'd be able to click the next key and you'd be able to go through the different airways. But ours is just here, and we can see that that's number 2 on this list. So we type number 2 and hit enter. And now it's going to ask us, where do you want to go to on that airway? And on our flight plan, it says we're going to be getting off that airway at Otleb, and that's number 1 on this list. We enter number 1, or you can enter the full fix, then press enter. That's how you enter an airway. We have another airway on our flight plan, so we'll run through that again. We'll hit list, airways, and there's only one airway here, so it's the Victor 307. We click that one, and to the Brisbane VOR or NDB. And you can see it's just brought in all these waypoints all the way to Brisbane, and we're flying to Brisbane from Bundaberg today, so I like to enter in the airport that I'm going to, just so that when I enter a SID or a star, that it'll actually work without having to type in the airport, the arrival airport. It's just confirming that this is Brisbane that I want to fly to, and it shows you the longs and lats there. Tells you the elevation, and yeah, it gives you the name of the airport. So we'll just click accept because that is correct. Now that we've done that, the next thing that I like to do is I like to go over to the fuel page, And I like to pop out the FMS just so I can come over here to my aircraft payload information. And now I just run off this information here. It says we have a zero fuel weight right now of 23,698 kilos. So what I like to do is I just like to enter in the zero fuel weight rather than going through and saying how many passengers I have, how much cargo I have for it to calculate it, just because I know that the zero fuel weight will always be correct. So I'll click zero fuel weight here, and that'll allow us to enter in some numbers. So we can enter numbers here. Obviously, we're going to be entering in our zero fuel weight, 23,698, so 23,698 kilograms. We enter that to lock it in, and it'll auto-select the fuel on board. Fuel on board today, our total fuel weight is 2,130 kilos. We enter that, and we hit the enter key, and that'll calculate our gross weight of the aircraft. I just like to quickly cross-check that one with the gross weight here, which it is 25,827, which it looks like we may have just burned a kilogram of fuel there just because of the APU. So if we wanted it to line up, we could just go 2129, enter. We've got 25,827, and that cross-checks with the payload information from the EFB. Now that we have finished that, that's essentially it. That's all you need to be able to get in the air. There are a few other options, and I'm happy to get into that in a later video. Although that is essentially all you need to get in the air. As we can see on the navigation display here, it's loaded in all of our waypoints, and that is great. So we're essentially ready to fly. Obviously, we don't have a SID or a star for this, but I'm more than happy to go into that in another video. But this is essentially all you need for basic flying with the Dash 8 by FlyJSim, the Q4XP. One last thing that I just want to quickly touch on is that to be able to have that flight plan be followed by the autopilot, we have to select the nav source to FMS. It is the one that is the most furthest left when you turn the knob. So turn the knob to the left, and we can see FMS 1 is 221 degrees direct track to Bundaberg, 0.3 miles. Although, if we look on our X-plane map here, the Bundaberg NDB is essentially right over the airport. So when we take off, we don't want to turn around and overfly this to activate the next leg. So essentially what we want to do is we want to activate the next leg after Bundaberg. So to be able to do that, it's fairly simple, and I only just figured this out myself. But what we have to do is we have to click on one of these. The first one is from, the next one is to, and then the NX means next. So essentially we're flying right now on the leg, we're flying from Bundaberg to the Bravo Uniform Delta, which is the Bundaberg NDB, and the next leg after that will be to Otleb. We want to fly from Bundaberg to Otleb at the moment. We don't want to direct to it through the DTO key. We want to activate the next leg instead of clicking direct to. So essentially to activate the next leg, what we have to do is we have to click on the from key, and we want to say that we're going to fly from Bundaberg, which is from Bravo Uniform Delta NDB, and it'll automatically, once you select the number on this, so yeah, oh, I've just messed that up. Let's return, we'll just try and do that again. Number 2, and press enter, and now it sees that we're going from Bravo Uniform Delta to Otleb, and it's activated that. So we'll press enter once more, and now we can see it's made this magneto, or magneto, however you want to say it. And it has activated this next leg up to Otleb, and then once we take off, we'll be able to hit LNAV on the autopilot, and it will come around to intercept the track over to Otleb. So essentially that's all for setting up this FMS, or the UNS I should say, in the Q4XP by FlyJSim. There are a couple other features such as performance, which shows your estimated time en route, your ISA deviation in the current state, or like in the current altitude, or where the aircraft is right now. And once your engines are started and once you're in the air, it'll show how many nautical miles per kilo of fuel are being burned, what your headwind is, what your ground speed is, everything like that. But that is more handy once you get into the air. So essentially the first thing to do once you jump into this aircraft is fill out your flight plan, then jump over to that fuel page. Once those two are filled out, you're essentially done, and it's as easy as that. This UNS is really easy to be able to program, and I think a lot of people reckon it's hard, but I think give it a little bit of practice, and it's not too difficult whatsoever. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope it was useful to you. I'm hoping to bring out more videos in the future regarding how to fly FlyJSim Q4XP. Please do let me know in the comments what you thought of this video, and if you have any special requests for the next video. Once again, thanks for watching.